Hello and welcome to Jamaica Magazine. I'm your host, Adrian Atkinson. It's World Environment Day. This year's observation will draw attention to the #Beat Plastic Pollution campaign. What are you doing to reduce the amount of plastic in your daily life? After all, we want Jamaica to remain the place of choice to live, work, raise families, do business, and, of course, retire in paradise.
Yes, walk right over there and drop it in the bin. Reuse that wastewater from your kitchen for the garden. Get your hands dirty and plant a tree. Farmers, hold off on the pesticides, especially near our rivers. Do your part to protect our watersheds so we can preserve the source of our drinking water. Every act to protect our watersheds counts. Start now.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Monday, June 5, 2023. Approximately 1,000 micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises, MSMEs, are to benefit from subsidized development services. This is being done through a grant funding partnership between the Development Bank of Jamaica, DBJ, and the Jamaica Business Development Corporation, JBDC. The agreement was signed last week for the DBJ's growth and expansion of MSMEs through innovation and capacity building Gemini pilot program. It replaces the bank's Voucher for Technical Assistance program, which ended in 2022. General Manager of the DBJ, Hugh Grant, says the support will allow beneficiary entities to improve their operational efficiency, enhance market competitiveness, and access financing.
A work plan will be created by the JBDC to support and move each MSMEs along the business life cycle. All MSMEs accessing the Gemini program will be assessed, tiered, and placed in one of 4 business development programs that are currently executed by the JBDC.
Mr. Grant says the DBJ has allocated $100 million for the first year of implementation. This will cover 80% of the costs for MSMEs, with each applicant able to access up to a maximum of $800,000. The JBDC's Chief Executive Officer, Valerie Vera, says she anticipates success and growth for all participants in the Gemini program.
We have gone through the whole program as it's designed, and we are now very confident that we are at the point where we have a worthwhile, robust program that our MSMEs will benefit from.
To be eligible, MSMEs must be registered companies in Jamaica, be 51% owned by a local entrepreneur, and have been in operation for at least 1 year. A commitment letter to be a client of the network is also required. Interested persons can visit www.dbjgemini.com to apply. Meanwhile, the DBJ is reporting that it has supported more than 3,000 MSMEs with technical assistance and grants between 2018 and 2023. Managing Director Anthony Shaw says this is to the tune of over $1.6 billion spread across 6 programs offered by the Development Bank.
These capacity building support and grants included vouchers for technical assistance, VTA program, energy audits, supply chain grants, and support to boost innovations for new ideas through entrepreneurship and seed capital.
Mr. Shaw was speaking at the recent launch of the DBJ's growth and expansion of MSMEs through innovation and capacity building Gemini pilot program. The managing director says support was offered in the areas of training in digital services, business plans, financial statements, marketing and promotional plans, and mentorship and coaching. General Manager Hugh Grant says that as a part of this, over 2,500 MSMEs benefited from the Voucher for Technical Assistance initiative, which is now replaced by the Gemini Grant Program. The National Works Agency, NWA, will spend approximately $543 million on disaster mitigation works this year. Manager of Communication and Customer Services at the NWA, Stephen Shaw, made the disclosure during last week's National Disaster Risk Management Council meeting. He says the money will be used to clean drains and carry out debushing activities.
We have $100 million that we are getting ready to spend in respect of drains The program has been put together, and in very, very short order, persons will be seeing activities on the roads. We have another $100 million that we are going to be spending in the middle of the season, and at the back end, we are going to be spending another $100 million. We have some monies that we are going to be using to do drain cleaning, and we have some debushing works.
Mr. Shaw explains that the budgeted $543 million is part of a comprehensive program being undertaken by the Works Agency. Other interventions include the maintenance of secondary roads program, for which the NWA would have spent somewhere in the region of $3 or $4 billion. Meanwhile, he says work is progressing on the build-out of the national underground fiber optic cable backbone. This will assist in building the country's resilience efforts, as well as ensuring that communication is maintained during periods of adverse weather conditions.
In the eastern part of Jamaica, the fiber is being laid, the underground fiber the ducts certainly are being put in, and those are being put in the context of the Southern Coastal Highway Improvement. Some of it has been done, is being done in respect of the extension of the east-west toll road, and others will follow not so long from now.
The NWA's Communication and Customer Services Manager says the agency is ready for the 2023 Atlantic hurricane season, which runs from June 1 to November 30. All students will now have access to high-quality interactive digital textbooks in a variety of languages, including Jamaican Sign Language. That's due to the new inclusive format created for UNICEF Jamaica's Accessible Digital Textbooks ADT initiative. It was previously only oriented towards Jamaican youngsters with disabilities, but has now been upgraded for all children. As part of the first phase of the initiative, 12 storybooks will be transformed to Universal Design for Learning (UDL) format. Prime Minister Andrew Holness has commended the United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF, for its efforts to make learning more inclusive.
We are very happy to see technology transforming education, particularly in areas where children did not have the accessibility.
The Prime Minister was speaking at a recent function where students from the Danny Williams School for the Deaf and Micro-Practicing Primary and Junior High gave a demonstration of the new format. The Family Services Unit of the Ministry of Labour and Social Security has been providing psychosocial support to the family of a deceased Jamaican farm worker in Canada and is making preparations to have the body repatriated to Jamaica. In a press statement Monday morning, the ministry confirmed reports of the death of the Jamaican worker on a farm in Niagara-on-the-Lake in Ontario, Canada on Friday, May 26. An initial report from the Jamaican Liaison Service in Canada confirmed that it received notification at approximately 7:25 a.m. on May 26 that the 32-year-old first-time migrant worker had not awakened that morning and that efforts at resuscitation by paramedics had been unsuccessful. A subsequent report confirmed that the coroner had determined that the death was due to natural causes. Meanwhile, the newly appointed Minister of Labour and Social Security, Pernell Charles Jr., has ordered an immediate investigation into the living conditions and work environment of farm workers in Ontario, Canada. This comes after a cohort of farm workers in that area have indicated that they are operating under subpar conditions. In response, liaison officers were directed to visit the location to provide a fulsome report on the conditions of the farm workers. The Minister of Labour and Social Security and his team have reported that they are committed to ensuring that Jamaican farm workers are provided with the best working and living conditions. And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
While noted for its usefulness, plastics have become a crisis in the Jamaican landscape. Too much plastic in whatever form normally ends up in our drains, rivers, gullies, and beaches. Let's hear more about what's being done to ensure a plastic-free Jamaica.
Plastics. How did plastics become a crisis? It's an interesting issue if you really think about the history of what plastics are, what we use them for, how we consume them as individuals. The problem you have with plastics is that because of how good it is as a packaging material, because it is so light, so cheap, we have gotten away. We have overdone it. Everything is wrapped in plastic, even what doesn't need to be. The reality is 13% of Jamaica's waste is largely plastic, or is some form of plastic, whether it's PET, HDPE, PC, whichever other category of plastic it is. And we know that for the vast majority of this plastic, it is indeed plastic bottles. Why don't you just ban it? And people ask me that every single day. Just ban the plastic bottles. And quite frankly, you can't, because the alternative is glass, and globally there's a glass shortage. I don't know if there'll be some global event that makes glass far more available, and cleaner ways will come to sterilize it. But as it stands now, that's not an option. So we have to target it through a deposit refund scheme. But there are items that we have banned. Persons largely will remember the scandal bag ban, styrofoam ban, plastic straws. And the reasons were that these items are largely non-recyclable, they're non-biodegradable, and in many cases, because of how they're used, they emit carcinogens that are harmful to human health. We consume, especially with lunch boxes, a lot of gravy, a lot of heat. Heat and styrofoam not meant to mix in that sort of way for human consumption. Hence the challenge. Now, has the ban been perfect? No, there's no perfect public policy. Has the ban reduced by a few 100,000 tons the amount of plastic waste going into our waste stream? Absolutely. Is that a win? Absolutely. Are we proud of it? Absolutely. Can we tweak it to make it better? Absolutely. We have seen persons who have gone right outside of the regulations on plastic bags. So they've gone a little thicker or a little larger, trying to use plastic instead of paper-based and recyclable alternatives or reusable alternatives. That means we're going to have to move the goalpost. And that move will come this year. We're going to have to increase the size, both in terms of dimensions and thickness and types of plastic bags that are banned. So for all of those who may be online now listening to us and contemplating their next round of purchases, I would suggest strongly to you that you look at the recycling alternatives, because you will get stuck with goods. And the minimum order quantities for these sorts of things, you will have months of goods put down. And that increase in size is coming, and coming fast. We took out styrofoam, or expanded polystyrene foam, as the appropriate term should be. The intention of the ban was not for you to switch styrofoam for plastic. It is the intention of the government to remove these plastic lunch containers from the waste stream by also expanding the ban to include them. Again, I would then suggest to those who import to do so with the minimum quantities, because you don't want to get stuck with something that you'll only be able to recycle. And no, we will not be reimbursing for those, because we're sending the signal clear. Our sewage plants and wastewater processing stations really can't manage these microplastics. There is no way for us to filter them out of the wastewater stream. We don't need them. They're deleterious to human health, deleterious to marine health. They can affect soil quality. They have to go. As a part of the expanded ban, we will include microplastics as a part of personal care products. Jamaica, the end of this financial year, will have a legislated deposit refund scheme. That system will have to work with customs, the NCRA, BSJ, NEPA, NSWMA, and indeed the Ministry of Industry, in ensuring that the way we implement it is done seamlessly, causes no disruption to supply and production, and it is done in a way where it does not trigger further inflation. So if you think of what that's trying to achieve, right? That is trying to deal with issues of collection, it's trying to deal with building out a circular economy, it's trying to get in many ways the public, the business community to help us collect 13% of the waste and bring it along their routes of travel to points of collection to make it easier logistically for NSWMA. But it also will help us to reduce our carbon footprint. We're going to have to disaggregate all of the things that are classified as environmental management, and we're going to have to accept that as a part of our economic development doctrine as a country, we are going to manage our environment with very strict regulations in a manner that is enforced and that gives confidence but gives predictability. Cannot be haphazard. This is why I'm very happy that NEPA was able to report that 42 persons have been prosecuted. Now, we're going to go on a drive. I'm going to be working with the NCRA and indeed Customs and the JCF over the coming months. That number is going to increase significantly based on what we're seeing in society. And we're seeing it at the higher end of the economic scale and the lower end of the economic scale. And these strictures and penalties will be applied equally regardless of where persons are operating.
Brethren, the road signs make the traffic environment safe. The green light means go. Red means stop. Amber also means stop. Yeah man, it don't mean you must speed up. And get this, even if the light's on green, when the traffic is thick, don't bother move off and block the intersection. And please, don't stop on a pedestrian crossing. Look out for children, the disabled and the elderly. Follow the signs so they all can arrive alive. Be a good road user. Obey the road signs and look out for each other.
It's the dream of most, if not every Jamaican, to own their own home. Home is where love resides, memories are created, friends always belong, and laughter never ends. Here's some much needed information to help you secure a place to call home.
Of the NHD's loan limit has been undertaken with the intent of improving the affordability to contributors. As a result, the loan limits will be increased to bring the maximum benefit in closer alignment with prevailing market conditions. Effective July 1, 2023, the general loan limit for a single applicant will be increased to $7.5 million.
I feel that they might try to do something for poor people. It not reach 100%, but it's getting there.
That's a good increase because for persons who are struggling like myself, it can find it a little bit easier.
They might increase the chance people can get for have a house or can have things, isn't it?
Pedestrians reacting to the news revealed by Prime Minister Andrew Holness in Parliament. As the Prime Minister stated, single applicants will go from $6.5 million to $7.5 million. This means two people may access up to $15 million to purchase a home. It's up to $21 million when three family members pull their resources together.
Home ownership is indeed a big deal, and all our loan offerings are geared towards assisting our contributors in becoming homeowners. And so we have mortgages under two broad categories: homeowners loan and non-homeowners loans.
Under the non-homeowners loan, one can purchase a home on the open market, purchase land to build, or you may access funds to build on land you already own.
So for the build on own land loan, you own the land, as the name suggests. You have a title for the property. Or you may not have a title for the property, but you have what is called undisputed ownership. You have documentation that shows that you are the right owner, you're the legal owner of the property.
For the homeowner's loan, this is where an actual homeowner who has never received an NHD loan can borrow money to renovate their home. For those going the route of buying, bear in mind that once you have decided to purchase land or any property, you need to be pre-approved for a loan.
To get a pre-approval letter, you'd be able to do so by supplying us with a job letter that verifies your income and contributions to the NHD. The TRN, you should have a TRN card, a NIS card, a government-issued ID, and your last 2 months' payslips. But if you're self-employed, then you would have to visit our compliance department and request what is called a mortgage memo. This is simply an electronic statement on our system that confirms to the person who will prepare your letter that you are indeed qualified and you have paid all your contributions on time.
So you're ready to buy a property and you're considering an NHT housing scheme. Here's something to consider.
The NHT will, from time to time, offer to its contributors housing solutions for sale. Now, if you want to be qualified for an NHT scheme solution, there are two main things that must be considered. One, where you live and work in proximity to the scheme. That's one. And the number of points you would have accumulated over your work life. So the longer you are contributing, the more points you would have accumulated. And for every 52 weeks that you are a contributor, you are awarded 20 points. So that adds up over time.
If you are considering purchasing NHT housing, be sure to keep up to date with their website for all the relevant information. And when you are ready to purchase, be sure you have all your relevant data on hand.
So you're going to want to have on hand records of your employment issues. So a person will say to me, Mrs. Smith, I'm ready to apply for my scheme. And I say, how long have you been contributing? And the answer is enough years. No, you need to know when you worked at a particular company and for how many years, because when you are doing your online application for scheme, you need to be very specific. You worked at Montego Bay Club 2000 to 2010. You worked at Dundee 1985 to 1990. So you have to be very specific.
And for those people who may want to subdivide land and build with other like-minded individuals,
Cluster housing has been renamed and rebranded, and it is now called Build 9. Okay, so it's no longer cluster, it's Build 9. So what is Build 9? It is a facility where we allow groups of persons to acquire land, and the NHT will assist with subdivision of the land, splintering of the title, and installation of the infrastructure.
the land must be subdivided into a minimum of 3 lots or a maximum of 9, hence the name Build 9.
It's an opportunity for you to create your own community. So you build the community that you want, you design the community you want, you live with people that you can be happy with and comfortable with.
Sounds good, right?
Well, yeah, of course. Ready, sign me up.
Not so fast.
I want to go through some of the things that persons must bear in mind when they're ready to own a home, or they're going to buy land, or you are going to buy a home, or you're going to build on land that you already own. There are some expenses that you must prepare for. And so a sale agreement, you have to pay for that. You have to pay a valuator to do a valuation report. You have to pay a surveyor to do a survey on the property to ensure that there are no breaches or encroachment. So the property is not on your neighbor property, and the house is not too close to the border, those simple things.
In addition, you need to have the attorney fee, which is usually 3% of the sale agreement and sometimes more. For more information, please contact the National Housing Trust at its corporate office, 4 Park Boulevard, Kingston 5, or give them a call at 876-929-6500-9. Happy house hunting!
A godsend to save the fish population in Jamaica is how many would describe fish sanctuaries. This effort is safeguarding not only different types of fish, but sustaining seafood lovers, all while maintaining the livelihood of fisher folk. Let's find out more in this feature.
In order to help to replenish our fish populations here in our Jamaican waters, fish sanctuaries are a godsend.
nature-based and scientific innovations funded by the Orokabessa Marine Trust Reef Restoration Project, the Orokabessa Bay Fish Sanctuary in St. Mary has accepted improved protection and monitoring of Jamaica's coral reef. The Orokabessa Marine Trust Reef Restoration Project, which began in 2013 to protect corals from bleaching and other forms of degradation, also aims to restore the Diadema sea urchin, which died in large numbers due to an unknown disease.
We live in a world where everything is placed here for a reason. Some things are obvious, some are so inconspicuous. And we often, because of how we are cultured or nurtured, believe that because something has spikes and so it's just discard of it. Or something looks ugly to us, kill it. But everything, every organism, even the bacteria, every single thing has been placed here for a reason.
Overfishing is a problem here in Jamaica, not Jamaica alone, the Caribbean and the wider region. So in order to help to replenish our fish populations here in our Jamaican waters, fish sanctuaries are a godsend for that problem. You can't take anything out of that space. So fishes are able to reproduce, they're able to grow to mature levels and are able to breed.
The resources at the base of the blue economy are under tremendous stress. So our tank systems will help us to now try to restore some of these organisms, get them back out into the wild. We'll try to increase their numbers in our nurseries, put them back out in the wild, protect them out at sea, and we're just trying to build that natural resource.
And what you are doing in terms of installing these equipments and using these mechanisms is going to improve efficiency. That is what we talk about when we say grow smart. The government is mindful of the need for us to give that support. We're mindful of the need for us collectively to conserve and protect our fisheries and biodiversity resources, as I've said. We provided $40 million to our fish sanctuary management partners to continue the needed support. We anticipate that in this fiscal year, another 2% of our coastal waters will be designated as fish sanctuaries to bring the total up to 17,000 hectares. The Ministry of Agriculture and Fisheries remains committed to continued transformation of this critical sector. If we all play our part in this renewal, as we contribute to the employment creation, to the lifting up of these rural development spaces, to the eradication as much as we can of poverty, and the protection of our environment, we're going to see the new Jamaica.
Thank you for being with us today on Jamaica Magazine. As we think about preserving the environment for generations to come, let's remember the words of Russian writer Leo Tolstoy. One of the first conditions of happiness is that the link between man and nature shall not be broken. Do join us again tomorrow for another interesting journey. Of course, you can visit our website, jis.gov.jm, for more news you can use. On behalf of the entire team, I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thank you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.